Hey everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back. Today's my first video since returning from Creativation, and I'm super excited to be back in my craft room. So let's go ahead and get started. So for today's card, I'm going to be using these beautiful iridescent paints from Daniel Smith, and I absolutely love them. But what is so super cool about these paints is that they show up totally different on white cardstock and black cardstock. It's really amazing. So for today's card, I'm going to use black cardstock because I want to make a really cool background for my card. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just using some regular black cardstock, and this is not even watercolored black cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and spritz some water onto my iridescent paints. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab a paintbrush, and I'm going to wet that and also add some water into my lid of my tray. So now, this is a super easy technique because I just kind of want to make like a galaxy background onto this black cardstock. Now, as you can see, the paint that I'm dipping into is purple, but when I put it on the paper, it's blue. It is literally some of the coolest magic I've ever seen with using paint. So I'm just going to continue to dab some of this color onto this black cardstock. Now I'm going to go into another color. Again, it looks purple, right? Ah, bring it to the paper and it's silver. So there is a lot of mica and shimmer in this paint that I absolutely love. I have been playing with these for like the past week before I left to go to Creativation, and I just could not wait to get back in my stamp room and continuously play with this because it blows my mind every time I use it on dark cardstock. I actually use it on navy cardstock. I used it on burgundy cardstock, and it always just blows my mind. So if you guys can get your hands on some of this paint, I highly suggest using it. Play with your products that you have. And I will make sure that I list all the colors that I use for this little galaxy background in the description box below so you guys can try out some of these colors. Now I will say they are a little bit expensive, so you don't have to have full set syndrome like me, but I was fortunate enough to go in with a group buy on these, so that's why I ended up having all the colors. Now look how gorgeous that looks. Now I am going to add a little bit more water, and I'm really going to moisten up my brush just a little bit more, and I'm going to add one more shade. Now this shade, I'm sorry, it was outside of my camera view, but it's almost like a clear color, and then when I add it in, it comes off with a shade of blue. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that color onto my galaxy background. And I'm just going to stop right there because I really love how this looks. So I'm going to go ahead and move my paint out the way. Now I want to get my heat gun here and go ahead and heat set this in. Now there is some moisture in this paper, and I want to get it as dry as I can because I'm impatient and I don't want to wait for this to sit overnight because I want to play with it right now. So my paper is a little bit warped, but I have most of the moisture out of the paper. Now I'm going to be embossing this. So I want to grab my embossing buddy to make sure that I can keep all of the powder off of my galaxy background. So this beautiful sentiment here is from Mama Elephant, and it's out of the Scripty Birthday stamp set. And I'm going to use some Versamark and stamp down this sentiment right in the middle of my beautiful galaxy. Now, the reason you want to make sure that this paint is dry is because you really do not want to be adding a whole bunch of embossing powder on this because it will definitely stick to it. So if you can allow this to dry overnight, go ahead. If not, just make sure you've heat set your paper well enough that the embossing powder won't stick to it. So now I'm just going to grab some white embossing powder, and I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that on to my sentiment. Now you'll see that it is sticking a little bit, but have no fear. Once I start flicking onto my cardstock, you'll see that it comes right off. I'm just going to add a little bit more over that magical, and then I can tap off the rest. Now, if there are a few specks of white left over, that's okay, because this is a galaxy background, and there would be some stars or some little white specks in my background anyway, so I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and start heat setting my sentiment. So my gun is really, really hot at this point. I'm going to go ahead and start from the back, and there is still a little bit of moisture left in my paper, but by having my gun nice and hot, I'm going to be able to take that moisture out as well as heat set in my sentiment. All right, that looks absolutely perfect. Look how beautiful that looks. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to take a star die out of my Spellbinder set, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut this out. Now, since that's die cut out, I have this beautiful star. I'm going to go ahead and pop that out, and look how beautiful that looks. Now, I did miss a little bit at the top, but all I have to do is go right back into my paint and just add a little bit more paint at the top and fill in a little bit, a couple more areas that I feel just need to have a little bit more paint. But that iridescent color is absolutely gorgeous. Look how beautiful that is. So now what I'm going to do is to start getting ready to build the rest of the card. So you guys know me, I love using just white background for my card. So this here is Nina Solarite 110-pound cardstock. And I went ahead and cut out 2 additional stars out of that beautiful metallic background. And I'm going to use some foam tape just to pop up these pieces on my card. Now this card, I really want the sentiment as well as that beautiful paint to be the star attraction, literally, on the front of this card. So I'm just going to keep this card really, really nice and simple. And I'm just going to use some of this foam tape to pop up these beautiful stars. Now I like to use odd numbers for nice visual appeal on my card. So that's why I picked 3 stars for this card. And I'm going to make sure that I use a good amount of foam tape on my larger star so that it sits evenly across the top of my card base. Now I could have went ahead and cut out some foam to just put across the back of this, but I figured that I can just go ahead and use the foam tape and achieve exactly what I wanted to achieve with this. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my last piece, and I'm going to rub that in very, very well, and then I can just go ahead and pull off the backing. So with using a very simple and beautiful sentiment and just using some gorgeous paints, you can really make a stunning card without a lot of work. So look how gorgeous that looks. And I love, love, love this beautiful sentiment from Mama Elephant. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that down. And I'm just going to fiddle with my stars just a little bit, just so I have them exactly where I want them on my card. Now, since I have everything in place exactly where I wanted it, I did want to add a little bit more extra on my card. So I'm just going to grab one of my fine tip Copic multiliners, and I'm just going to add a few dashes across the top and the bottom of my card. I really love the simplicity of this card, and I plan on making this card again in a whole bunch of different colors. I think it's perfect for a guy card, and I also think it would be perfect for a female card if you just changed up the colors a little bit. So I'm just going to finish off this card by finishing up my cute little faux stitching across the top of my card, and then this card is going to be done. Now you can make this in any color you want, but look how gorgeous that is. Very clean and simple card and a great little sentiment. So that's the card for today. I hope you guys like it and you give me a thumbs up, and feel free to share it as well. Thanks you guys so much, and here is the card in all of its glory, and I will see you guys soon in another video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.